Because I really wanted to begin our celebration at the Holy Well. It seemed like a very appropriate thing for us to do, because when Bishop Finnegan invited us to come to take Holy Hill when the Sisters of Mercy could no longer staff it, he started looking for a contemplative community, because there was no contemplative community in this diocese, and he really wanted one. And what he was looking for was hermits, very specifically. And the reason he was because of the Irish monastic tradition of hermits, that the early Irish monks were very eremitical. Even though they were also, and it's interesting, so are we, they were eremitical, and at the same time, the communities were what I think Mary Dupour calls porous. In other words, so there were lots of lay people coming in and out, people from other countries coming in and out, coming to study at the monasteries and that sort of thing. So what Bishop Finnegan said when he dedicated the community, the monastery here in 1995, he actually said that our charism should be both the charism of the primitive Carmelite ideal and the charism of the early Irish monks. And we hope that is it. But then an interesting thing is, well, first of all, when he invited us here then that first summer, the whole community came, and some people like Patsy will remember, 20 people coming in wearing these habits and coming around. And the three most significant things we did that summer were that Bishop Finnegan took us, one Sunday he took us to Clonmacnoise, and he rented a bus. We all got on the bus and we drove to Clonmacnoise and saw that. And then another day, he rented 2 fishing boats. And what's interesting is at the time, I'm American and I think bishops have lots of money. And that, well, sure, he could just rent 2 fishing boats. And that is after I've gotten to know both him and Bishop Fleming, I understand that's a big deal that he did that for us. But he had 2 fishing boats and took us all out to Inishmurray. And that summer, as it happened, the 6 weeks we were here that summer, the weather was just like it was in August and May this year. It was just 6 weeks of total, every day you just woke up and knew it was going to be sunny. And it was 80 degrees every single day. It was amazing. So we thought, we've come to this wonderful place. but so we just went to Inishmurray on a beautiful sunny day, and Eric took his final vows there. And then Eric was ordained at the parish church here, so he became Father Eric. But he took his final vows on Inishmurray, and we were all there. So those were very significant things for us to see these great ancient sites. And then one other important thing was one Sunday, we went to Keju for a festival, and we just happened on our way home to stop at Boyle at the monastery, in the ruins of the Cistercian monastery there. And it just happened, it was 9:30 at night, it was the last thing we were doing, we were on our way home, and we went in and we just said, let's sing Compline. And we're going to do this tomorrow night. Anyone here is welcome to join us. We're going to sing this very same Compline tomorrow night at 7:30 and have benediction. And it's one that we just sing. We used to sing so much we all knew it by heart. So we were able to everybody just started singing the Compline. And there was something very moving about singing in these ancient ruins of the monastery and feel in some sense we're bringing them back to life. By singing Compline. So we feel like, in some sense, that's our vocation. That's what we want to do. And so then it was 10 more years before I was able to come to Holy Hill after that first summer in 1995. And that's when Pat came also. Thomas was in and out all the time, doing a lot of work. And, Miss Betty here, she came back at the same time that Pat and I came back. And after we got here, we just always do a lot of walking, and we walked we discovered the walk on Opera's Head that this Sligo County Council just put in right around 2005 or 6. It was right around that time. And so suddenly we could walk around Opera's Head, and we started doing it, and then I discovered this holy well at the end of the walk. There was this ancient holy well. At that point, I don't know if I'd ever seen a holy well, as a matter of fact. And there it was, and there was a big, huge cairn of rocks and a cross in it that said St. Patrick's Holy Well on it. And then I found out later that that was put up by Sean Finnegan, who is the farmer who owns the land there. And in a sense, for him it was just like, you know the movie, If You Build It, They Will Come? And so Sean had this on his land. He had this old ancient holy well where a mass had never been celebrated. But he wished that somebody would, you know, he knew what it was, and he knew that he wished that something would go on there. So it just happened. So we saw it, and then I just draw back to it and keep going back to it and back to it. And on the holy well, there was this old statue that was kind of falling apart. It was a plaster statue that was actually falling apart in the rain. So we just thought, wouldn't it be nice to put a new statue there? So it took me a long time to find Sean, find out how you do that, who I should talk to Sean. We did it. And so ever since then, this holy well has been a very special place for our community. I go there, I've been going there every Monday, which is our desert day. And often, like what I love to do in the summertime is bring flowers to Our Lady, because we had brought the statue. Pat does the same thing. She often goes, and she always brings flowers when she goes. Thomas used to run he'd park his car in Dunmore and Strand car park, and then he would run from there to the holy well. And he used to do that. And sometimes I would see him, I don't know, that he'd run by me as I was walking back. But so we all visited it a lot. And then we would have mass there maybe 2 or 3 times a year whenever we could. Especially we didn't have a priest, for many years, as you know. And so we would just get a visiting priest came, one of our first questions, will you say mass at the holy well for us? And so if the weather was good, then they would come and do that. So, and then it was only after all that when I was doing research for, we're going to have a book for our anniversary that is not ready yet, but it's coming soon. And doing research for that, I found the homily that Bishop Finnegan gave when he dedicated this place. And in that homily, so that's where he said, the charism of the new Hermitage will be rooted in 2 kindred spiritualities, that of the primitive Carmelite rule and that of the early Irish Church, which within a century of St. Patrick had taken on a monastic shape which survived for a millennium after Patrick. So that whole first 1,000 years of the Irish Church had this monastic shape. And then he goes on to talk about all the monastic sites in Ireland. And then when he mentions them, he ends with Auchris, which is he said, and there are also very local sites. And one of them is Auchris, which he says, according to tradition, was founded in 571 from Inishmurray, which is interesting that it was, what he's saying is Inishmurray was actually founded first before 571, which is kind of amazing. And then Auchris was founded from there. But I always had heard that Auchris was the place where they supplied Inishmurray. So all these things made the holy well, as I said, that much more significant. And this, by the way, is Inishmurray. That's why we have. So when I go to the holy well, I can see Inishmurray. So now at least we can't see the Inishmurray. We can see the picture of it at least right here, and the name Inishmurray means Muradach's island, and it was founded by. He says Auchris was founded by Saint Muradach. And St. Muradach was one of the first abbots on Inishmurray, and the island. So Inishmurray is the Isle of St. Muradach, who is, as most people here know, the patron saint of the Killala diocese of our diocese, and I think was supposed to have been a friend of St. Patrick's. So that's how far back he goes. So I always like to talk about the Holy Trinity as a web of exchange, and that the Trinity is always pouring, each person in the Trinity is always pouring his love into the others, and they're all emptying themselves into the others. It's always people, love being poured in, love being passed on, emptied out by being passed on. And we are all invited into that Trinitarian love life, and we become part of that exchange. And so I always love to think about that web of exchange, which also includes creation and includes everything, including all of the people who are no longer alive. That they also, as we know, are the communion of saints who are also pouring out God's love, being filled with God's love, pouring out God's love. And so whenever I go to the Holy Well, of course, I think of all the people who were out there on Inishmurray, the people who were there at Auchris, who were who gave their lives to God back then and are still pouring out their love, and I would say, in a sense, rooting for us. That they're encouraging us because they also want to see this contemplative life reawakened in Ireland. So I'm just very aware of that when I go there, and that's one of the reasons why why I like to do that. And then, of course, I'm also very aware when I go there of Our Lady and of that she also is rooting for us, wanting us to be able to keep passing on. That's really that's what we want to do. That's why we don't give up. It's because we believe that that we are being filled with God's love. That's what monks do. That's what it means to be a contemplative. Is Sister Wendy Beckett said, "What do? I let God love me." That's what a monk does. But then the next thing is, and we pass it on, and we want to be able to continue passing that on, and so that's why we would like to keep it alive. So it's a miracle. It's been 25 years, and we're still here. So anyway, that's why it seems so important to me to begin this celebration with a mass that is, would have been at the Holy Well, but here it's kind of the same thing, with, in union with the early Irish monks, especially the ones from Inishmurray and from Aughris, and of course in union with Our Lady of Loch.
In you comes my salvation.